Right, so welcome to the second part of the session. And we'll do the text reading for today, which is called the section 3 of chapter 19, called the Unreality of Sin. The Unreality of Sin. Okay, so here it is. If you want to read that, doesn't look like we'll need to do much translation there.
Yeah. The attraction of guilt is found in sin, not error. Sin will be repeated because of this attraction. Fear can become so acute that the sin is denied the acting out. Fear can become so acute that the sin is denied the acting out. But while the guilt remains attractive, the mind will suffer and not let go of the idea of sin. For guilt still calls to it, and the mind hears it and yearns for it, making itself a willing captive to its sick appeal. Sin is an idea of evil that cannot be corrected, and yet will be forever desirable. As an essential part of what the ego thinks you are, you will always want it, and only an avenger with a mind unlike your own could stamp it out through fear.
Okay, so sure that needs any ego's belief in separation, so we can translate that. Anything else needs to change, you think?
Guilt still calls to it, and the mind hears it, yearns, makes itself a willing captive. Could you make it 25% bigger, please?
Yes, a wee bit bigger.
Oh, that's it. That's the one.
Then 125. Yeah.
Great.
Better.
Yeah. Okay. So,
so what's he saying?
yeah, the very strongest pull of the belief in separation is always attached to, is always found in sin, in the belief in sin. It's not error, because we error, but the error is corrected by the Holy Spirit or remembrance of oneness. And because if we're in this belief in separation, guilt will have a huge attraction, and the whole belief in sin is acted out with disastrous consequences mostly. The mind will suffer. The mind hears, and it becomes a captive. Wow.
A willing captive to its sick appeal. So we have this sick attraction of guilt. Does he actually say that here? But there's because of the attraction. He talks about the sick attraction of guilt in another passage. But the attraction of guilt is found in sin, not error. So we actually want the sin. We're addicted to sin and guilt, because what do? They reinforce our separate identity. We must be separate if we've sinned. We've really actually separated them. You see why sin is absolutely at the underpinning of the ego's entire thought system. Desire for separation is one thing. That's how it started. But then the sin makes that desire permanent and real and entrenched and unchangeable. So sin is really just an idea of an error that can't be corrected.
Yeah.
Terms. Let's see if we can glossary of terms. I want to see how we defined sin here. So sin, Oh, we haven't actually defined sin, so that's a useful addition to our glossary. We don't really use this much because we're actually translating directly in the text, but still, it's a useful reference document. So, for instance, sin, it's really difficult to translate because the translation would be error made real and permanent. That's what sin is. Attraction of guilt is found in error made real and permanent. That would be my translation for sin. So there's not a quick, easy.
Yes, an error made real and permanent in the mind.
Yeah. Error believed to be real and permanent is sin. So if we were translating that, it's going to be quite long. I suppose we could. We've kind of kept sin. What do you think?
Error made real and permanent.
Do you think that actually is a bit might be a better translation? Because we haven't in the past translated sin.
Right.
So the belief that an error of separation, because that's all error is real and permanent. And warrants punishment or justifies. Belief that the error of separation, in whatever form it appears, is real and permanent. Is real, permanent, and justifies punishment. I'd say that's probably the most comprehensive definition. So if we were going to translate it, we'd say the belief that the error of separation, is actually defining the term here, that error so that's how sin would look if we were going to translate it. That's too long-winded.
I don't actually. I think it's important. I think it's key to understanding sin and error.
Not error. Belief that error is real and permanent. So how about we say sin being the belief that error is real and permanent.
So how does it work in the first sentence? The attraction of guilt is found in
sin. Yeah, well, I think we should leave it as sin there, because if we start translating it, then,
the second sentence.
Here's the kind of definition. Sin being the belief that error is real and permanent will be repeated because of this attraction. So maybe if we've defined it here, we don't need to repeat that definition again. What do you think?
Good.
So it's quite long-winded. No.
Will be repeated because of this
Does
attraction.
that make sense? Sin is just the belief that error is real and permanent and justifies punishment. And that's going to be repeated because of this attraction. So the attraction of guilt and sin go hand in hand. And we are attracted to it because it gives us a seeming separate identity. That's where the attraction lies. even though it actually feels terrible. The attraction is what it gives us, some kind of separate existence.
Yeah, I'm sorting it out in my mind, that, well, at least I'm doing it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I may
that's,
be suffering,
yes, I may be suffering, but I'm
it's
suffering in
my
my way.
suffering, and
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I still have my, I'll do it my way. And I prefer my separate identity, suffering in my separate identity, to giving up the separate identity and just being pure formless awareness and not suffering. That's the choice I make when I choose sin, which is not a wise choice, but that's what the ego's convinced us is actually the
I
best
believe
way.
I'm so guilty that I can't see that as a proper choice. I believe I'm irretrievably guilty and shameful. Therefore, that option is not available to me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So sin is self-perpetuating, because if I believe in sin, I believe the error can't be corrected.
Yeah.
It's real and permanent and justifies punishment by definition. So then I'm bound by it. I can't escape this.
Exactly.
Then I'm defined by sin. There's no escape. So the concept of sin is self-perpetuating by definition. As soon as you change its definition and you say, well, it's just an error and it's not real and it's not permanent and this can be undone, then it's no longer a sin, it's an error. So you need to upgrade sins to errors, and then they can be corrected. This is what he's suggesting we do in this false fiction.
Fear can become so acute that the sin is denied the acting out. While the guilt remains attractive, the mind will suffer and not let go of the idea of sin. For guilt still calls to it, and the mind hears it and yearns for it, making itself a willing captive to its sick appeal. Sin is an idea that cannot be corrected and yet will be forever desirable. So I just wanted to unpick that. Sin is an idea of evil that cannot be corrected. So the correction is the miracle, and the correction is the voice of the remembrance of oneness, who will never abandon anyone. But if we are so buried in this idea of sin and evil that we're not showing any willingness in terms of waking up. Is that right? So there's very little remembrance of oneness can do. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's an idea of evil, yet will forever be desirable. So it's if you look at what evil really means, the best way of understanding it is it's love spelt backwards.
Oh God.
See, evil is love spelt backwards. So it's an upside down life. It's the opposite of life. To live, to be an evil is to live backwards. So sin is an upside down, backwards way of living. So an idea of evil that cannot be corrected.
Yeah.
Yet will forever be desirable.
Yeah.
So it's permanent, and really the desire now for separation, because this is what kicked it all off. We had a desire to be something different. Sin makes that desire forever true. You see, so we're forever desiring separation. Will be forever desirable. So this is now entrenched in our minds, and this is why the ego is so difficult to get rid of. Because the idea of sin underpins it, and that is in most people that's the resident program. They actually feel evil and sinful and guilty at their core, and they don't want to see that, so they cover it over. They have all kinds of distractive devices to try and make themselves feel better. But at the
Yeah.
core of the ego, it feels unworthy and sinful and guilty because it believes that in order to have its separate identity, it must have separated from and destroyed oneness. So that's the crime, you see. In order to have its separate identity, it must have destroyed truth and oneness and everything that's good and beautiful and pure. And now its identity rests on this evil crime that it thinks it's committed. So hence sin and evil go together. So it's like, I mean, just brilliant analysis of this whole thought system. It's so clear. Just saying, don't fall for it. It's not true. See it for what it is. This entire thought system, based on a tiny mad idea that's not true, this can only be false. How can you be guilty for what's not true? You see, there's the simple logic. How can you be sinful if what you did was never done in truth? You see the simple logic of it.
Yeah.
And that's all the Course is teaching. A very, very simple logic to undo all of these ideas, which have got deeply entrenched in our minds. And yet, the truth is still true. The truth is very simple. Okay, so carry on with where we're number 4. While the guilt still remains attractive.
But while the guilt remains attractive, the mind will suffer and not let go of the idea of sin. For guilt still calls to it, and the mind hears it and yearns for it, making itself a willing captive to its sick appeal. So I'm still very stuck in this suffering place of believing that I am beyond redemption, totally unworthy, not letting go of the idea of sin, which is synonymous with guilt and shame. Yeah. And then in 6, sin is an idea of evil that cannot be corrected and yet will forever be desirable. It's an idea of evil, so it's simply an idea of evil. But while I'm in that idea of belief and separation, that I'm not willing to countenance any idea of perfect love at one moment.
Yeah.
As an essential part of what the belief in separation thinks you are, you will always want it because I'm so stuck. And only an avenger with a mind unlike yours could stamp it out through fear. So only an avenger, only an avenger with a mind unlike your own.
Yeah, it's interesting. So what do you think he means there?
Such hard. Always only an avenger. Like I'm thinking about an avenging angel, and there's a biblical hyperbole. With a mind unlike your own. What, a mind unlike my wholly aware mind? Or a mind?
Well, you think you're separate. So I think what he's referring to here is a false god. There's an avenger, mind unlike your own. So have a look at the diagram here. What's related to the ideas of guilt and sin and fear is the concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful, separate God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the avenger for your sin is this concept of God with a mind unlike your own. So you're separate from God. God is going to punish you for your sin.
Yeah.
And now, God, the righteous, judgmental, wrathful God of the Old Testament, is going to take vengeance upon you for your
That's right.
sins, and stamp sin out through this fear. You need to, in traditional religions, they say the fear of God.
Yeah, of course.
The fear of God, which is just ridiculous. If God is love,
Right.
how can you fear love?
Yeah. So I believe that I am guilty, and therefore I'll believe in this avenging, wrathful, angry God.
Yeah.
And the fact that I believe I deserve this fear and suffering. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see, can you see how this thought system of guilt and fear and sin requires a vengeful God? So we invent God in our own image,
Yeah. Yes. Got it.
and that's what he's saying, which will
So
now come and stamp it out. So we go, and these, this is a traditional image of the preacher
yeah,
who's
it is.
very rooted in this thought system. They're preaching fire and brimstone from the pulpit.
Yep. One
And the
minute.
Lord will come and cleanse the world of all the evil, and the sinners will be cast into the fires, and this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Goes on. This is what he's referring to. Only an avenger with a mind unlike your own could stamp it out through fear. And you better be very scared, because God will take vengeance upon you and strike you down for your sins.
Mm-hmm.
But never mind, because Jesus has saved you from all of it. I don't know. It's bonkers, isn't it? I don't get it.
It is.
It's like on the one hand, you're saved, and Jesus is only love, and on the other, there's this, vengeful, wrathful, fearful God, and don't you forget it. We're going to keep reminding you of this, this that you're sinful and you're guilty and you're going to be punished. It's a very, very conflicted thought system that doesn't make any sense, actually.
Yeah.
So that's what he's highlighting here, I think. Okay, so you want to give a little summary of number one?
Mm-hmm.
What's he saying in summary there?
Guilt is synonymous with sin, and if I believe in separation, then I will always have this attraction to guilt, yearning for it, making myself a willing captive to the sick appeal of guilt.
Do you understand why it's attractive to us?
It's attractive. Guilt is attractive because it's grist to the idea of being a separate being with a separate identity, and it is about fear of the light as well, fear of awakening, believing that that's not for me. I'm not worthy enough. I am a miserable sinner. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a victim.
Yes.
Listen,
It
comes
is.
back to the victim
Yeah.
concept. Sin and the victim. And if you really identified with yourself as a victim
Mm-hmm.
of a cruel world, then that's attractive for you. Your victim identity keeps calling you, saying, "Oh no, I'll offer you something." The payoff for being the victim in the world is that you get sympathy, you get attention, and you get not to take responsibility, or everything else is to blame. So my life is a pity party, and there are people who will play that game with you. So this is the kind of sick attraction of guilt, is you have a twisted, distorted identity, and you get some kind of payoff or reward for that identity, even though it actually is making you suffer. You don't see that. You think that the suffering is some kind of reward. So that's the sick attraction of guilt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else here?
Yeah, just that last sentence about, it's really only the minister or the priest at the pulpit who will tell me what I already believe about myself, being
Yeah.
that danger, just reinforce the guilt and sin. Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're really right, because that's what the preacher is saying as well.
Yeah. So then people go there because they want to hear that message.
Yeah,
And they're trapped in it. And you say, well, it's the church's fault. Well, it's a self-perpetuating system. People want that, so then they create an institution and a people who will give that to them, and then the institution is now founded on their desire for sin and guilt. But if they simply stopped, the moment people leave the church,
yeah,
when they go, I'm done with that. I'm not, I can't accept that I'm
yeah,
sinful and guilty and evil. I can't listen to this stuff because I don't want to hear this anymore. This doesn't resonate with me anymore. And then they simply leave and walk out. So you always have that choice, but people go back week after week, year after year, because it's reinforcing their separate self, the victim identity. I'm
yeah,
a sinner, and every day they go to, maybe not every day, but every week, twice a week, however often they go to church, they go there for their fix. Their ego's getting strengthened. So
yeah,
it's ironic because actually those churches are churches to the ego. People are
yeah,
going there to have their ego identity reinforced week after week, year after year, and
yeah.
not undone. And so
So,
religion becomes a prison, and
yes,
not the liberation that it was designed to be.
I mean, I don't know what it's like in South Africa, but certainly here in Scotland, there can it look. There's so many churches, congregations that are falling numbers, massively falling numbers. But maybe the simple question is, why are you perpetuating the idea of sin and guilt in people? People have had enough of that.
Yeah, well, I think people are moving on, and
Yeah.
unless those churches evolve into something that meets and matches the new consciousness, then they're going to die. A
Yes,
useful function. I
exactly.
suppose you always have the die-hard sinners who go to them.
Yes.
But who wants, like, in a modern world, like, who wants to believe that they're sinful and guilty and deserve to be punished? I mean, this is not a helpful thought system, and we sort of we've had enough of a taste now of freedom
Yeah.
to realize, well, there's something more that's possible. Being middle class kind of upgrades your your expectations of life and saying, well, actually, more is possible. If you were just a peasant in the Middle Ages, and your lot was really to work hard and pay your taxes to the Lord, and that's really all you could expect, then your self-concept and the idea of sin kind of went hand in hand. Oh no, no, I deserve to be punished by the Lord because I'm an evil sinner,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So God punishes me, and then the overlord punishes me because he's the agent of God, and the church punishes me. And I mean, this is a thought system of oppression that's designed to keep people under control. And now there's been a significant liberation from that. Well, who can believe in that really old-fashioned idea of sin anymore in the same way? I think people still do subconsciously, but consciously, if you go to church and this was preached at you, a lot of people just go, no, that's wrong, and walk out. So I think there's some churches that are evolving and are a little bit more enlightened, and are not focusing on that old message. But there's still a lot. I mean, it's entrenched in the religion. I mean, a lot of these religions is the guilt and the sin and the fear and the avenging God, and so it's too much for them to change that and say, actually, you know what? All these years we've been wrong. It hasn't been so.
Yeah. That
Okay,
would be
so
hard.
shall we move on to?
Okay.
Yeah, well, no one wants to admit
Yeah.
no one wants to admit they're wrong, do they? Even if they are wrong, it takes someone who's truly humble. Okay, so let's just find, where are we? Document 2 and 1, that one. Oh, where did that disappear? disappeared too. I had a whole document with the whole document just disappeared. So that's word glossary of terms. Oh, there it is. Okay, so 2.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this it? The body cannot know. Oh. The belief in separation. The belief in separation does not think it possible that love, not fear, is really called upon by sin and always answers. For the belief in separation brings sin to fear, demanding punishment. Yet punishment is but another form of guilt's, what's that word? Perception? It's just underneath.
Protection.
Yeah, protection. For what is deserving punishment must have been really done. Punishment is always the great preserver of sin, treating it with respect and honoring its enormity. What must be punished must be true, and what is true must be eternal and will be repeated endlessly, for what you think is real you want and will not let it go. Yeah.
Oh, so some really good, and here he's just outlining, what's entrenched in this diagram, displayed in this diagram, and here he's outlining the underpinnings, and he's saying this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can see where this diagram comes from: guilt, sin, false expectation of punishment appearing real.
Mm.
That is what guilt and sin demand.
Mm.
Preserver of sin, treating it with respect and honoring its enormity. So as a consequence of the apparent cause of guilt and sin, it must confirm that this is true,
Mm-hmm.
that it's justified, that this really happened,
Mm-hmm.
you see.
Mm-hmm.
What's deserving punishment must have really been done. Very cunning of the ego. Okay, so we believe in sin, then that justifies punishment. Now the punishment perpetuates the delusion that it's really done.
Mm-hmm.
So it preserves sin and guilt. What must be punished must be true. And what is true must be eternal and will be repeated endlessly. So yeah, sin and guilt and punishment work hand in glove to really put you in a bind, mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
What you think is real, you want, and will not let it go. So our choice of reality is a desire. See, what you think is real, you want.
Yeah.
You think it's real because you want it to be real.
Mm-hmm.
So the desire is behind the desire for another identity, separate identity, is then perpetuated in down the chain, down the ladder of separation. So we go, now I desire that sin and guilt are real, that there's a vengeful, wrathful God, that there's punishment, because this gives me the separate identity and the alternate reality that I desired up here.
Mm.
And that just makes the desire real. So now we're in a self-perpetuating loop of what we desire seems to be real, and as we choose the reality, we identify with this reality, we're really desiring for the separation to continue. which is why this is all very difficult to get out of, because it's so bound up. We're so bound up, got so caught up in this desire and guilt and sin and fear and attack, the idea of a vengeful God, and around you go, and it's self-perpetuating. And only when you look at it from this higher perspective, with this awareness coming from the Holy Spirit, do you start to become aware of what it really is. And then you're able to let it go. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in a summary of that, what's he saying, paragraph 2 in summary?
Yeah, the being in the belief in separation, we don't believe that love is really called is love is the answer. We're so stuck in fear and believing and attracting punishment to protect the guilt, which is all part and parcel of belief in separation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that. Punishment is always a great preserver of sin, because it makes it so real. God, you really did, kick your sister. That was, and I'm going to punish you because I'm your parent. I mean, yeah, it feels very. I feel it as a muscle memory, being a child, being punished like that, and it just seemed enormous to me. Honoring its enormity. I love that language. Treating sin with great respect. The sin must be knocked out of this child. We must bow down before it and honor it, because oh my God, it's so sick.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, maybe this is what he's referring to here about the avenger, with a mind unlike your own, could stamp it out through fear.
Yeah.
So that gets perpetuated in a thought system based on fear and sin and guilt, and other people can also play this role.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
that goes
that's more real to have that as
concept of God.
Yeah. For me, that the avenger there is more of a wrathful parent there.
Yeah. Certainly could be a person, not a concept of God. But it's interesting that those kinds of parents will tend to then believe in the false God.
Definitely.
So your parents were formal religion until your dad went into psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Obviously thought that there was a better way, but that thought system of punishment goes hand in glove with the formal religious belief that the church is sponsoring.
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of these people, very pious and righteous, they're actually quite cruel and unkind.
Yeah, very violent.
Because they believe in the reality of punishment.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, you need to be punished for your sins. So
yeah.
This is justified.
Yeah, it's violent.
Yeah. So belief in separation. Conflict you deleted. Conflict you inserted. Right. So I'm not quite sure what it wants me to do there. Conflict you inserted. Okay. Accept my change, maybe. Accept my change. It's because it got interrupted, that's why. Okay. So there we go. Saving. Sort out conflicts. All right. So happy with number 2.
Yeah.
Fear, guilt, demand punishment, really, and that's punishment then reinforces the thought system of guilt and sin,
making it real.
Yeah. So the consequence, remember, cause and effect. The consequence will always reinforce the apparent cause, won't it?
Yep.
So this is why he's asking us to look at all the ego's consequences and deny them.
Yeah.
Because if we believe in them, then we're reinforcing the cause.
Yeah.
And then apparently we have a false cause that denies the truth entirely. Okay, so number 3, an error.
Makes it real. An error, on the other hand, is not attractive. What you see clearly as a mistake, you want corrected. Sometimes a sin can be repeated over and over with obviously distressing results, but without the loss of its appeal. And suddenly you change its status from a sin to a mistake. Now you will not repeat it, and you will merely stop and let it go unless the guilt remains. For then you will but change the form of sin, granting that it was an error, but keeping it uncorrectable. This is not really a change in your perception, for it is a sin that calls for punishment, not error. Okay.
All right, anything need to change there? I don't think really. What's he saying there in essence?
Yeah, it's a bit naughty. An error, on the other hand, is not attractive. Okay, it's not attractive. What you see clearly as a mistake, you want corrected. So I don't know if this, I'm reading this as, so you change in your mind, you change the status in your mind from a sin to a mistake, and you won't repeat it, but you'll merely stop and let it go unless the guilt remains. But if the guilt remains, you'll keep doing it. You'll keep making that mistake. Like going back to a bad relationship, or the kind of person who might abuse you. You know, you think, oh, I'm not making that mistake again, but then I feel guilty and shameful, and I believe in separation. Therefore, that's the kind of person I'm always going to attract. Is that right? Yeah. But then I'm going to change the form of sin.
Obviously distressing results without the loss of its appeal.
Yeah.
Suddenly you change its
Because
status from a sin to a mistake.
You're still believing that that's your lot. That's distressing results, but that's sort of, hey, that's the kind of person I am kind of belief.
That's what I deserve. I deserve punishment. So,
yeah.
You know, that's my lot. I'm a guilty sinner.
Yeah.
So it's obviously distressing, but because this is what I deserve.
Yes.
As soon as we change our status from a sin to a mistake, and if you separate those two into their component parts, a mistake, it's very clear what it is. It's just a mistake. It's a mistake of reality. Sin is a perceptual error, in other words. It's a mistake. You're mistaking reality. So your perception is distorted. A mistake of your perception. If you think about, you know, how you take a photo, you take a camera. Okay, well, I mistook that.
Yeah.
Well, in the same way, we have a snapshot of that and we mistake it. Our perception is the camera, and we go, oh, you know, I've got a picture of that.
Yes.
But it's a mistake.
Yes.
Because I'm interpreting the situation wrongly, from the wrong perspective. I'm seeing it from the perspective of the separate self and sin and guilt. So that is now a mistake in my perception. So, in other words, we only have a perceptual problem. The perceptual problem is we think that separation is real, that therefore the guilt and the sin are real, therefore fear is justified, and that is all a mistake in our perception. So the correction is simply saying, well, it's just a mistake. A mistake.
So is this
in my mind? It's I can adjust my perception.
I can adjust my what? Sorry.
Hmm?
I can adjust my. I didn't hear that last bit. Mm.
What were you saying?
Yeah, you froze and then disappeared.
Iona, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I just dropped out.
Yeah.
Unstable this afternoon. So, what were you saying?
Mm.
What was your question?
It's okay. I've forgotten. I didn't hear the end of one sentence. It was just before you dropped out, so never mind. Yeah.
Okay. So, what is he saying here in summary, paragraph 3?
I can't see it anymore.
Oh, really? Okay. I just shared my screen again.
Yeah, it says you started screen sharing, but no text is appearing.
Really? Okay. Sure, why that's the case. I'll stop playing. And trying it again. Okay. That any better?
No.
Huh. Okay. Saying I'm screen sharing, but
Yeah. It's saying
you can't see
you
it.
started to screen
It's not
sharing.
very helpful, is it?
Oh.
Right. You keep dropping out, which doesn't help. I'm gonna close some apps and let's see if that makes any difference. 156. Okay, I'll close a couple of apps. That might help. Try again. Share screen. Any now?
No, it's not working.
No. Okay.
That's it. That's it now.
Okay. We're just taking
Okay.
some time.
Yeah, that's
All
it
right.
now.
So, an error.
Okay.
What's he saying? Number 3.
That's only changing the form of sin, keep it uncorrectable. Not really a change in your perception.
Yeah.
You have
So
to
you
change.
think you're changing?
Yeah. It's not really a change in my perception.
Answering there was an error, but keeping it uncorrectable. Yeah. So even if you said, "Oh, well, this is just an error," but you don't correct it, then you're not really changing your perception. So if you're resistant to actually changing your perception and correcting the error, then you're not really changing anything. So it's lip service.
Right.
Yes, yeah, I know. Okay, same. That's
Yeah.
what he's trying to say. There's no real transformation. It's just pretending. It's like imposter transformation. Oh yes, okay. Well, it's just an error. I can kind of see that, but then I'm not actually open to the correction and to letting it go. I'm maintaining the same thoughts. Well, nothing's really changed, has it? It's lip service to the idea. It's a genuine, heartfelt letting go and saying, oh, I'm done. I'm done with this idea of sin. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to be a victim. I'm willing to let it all go and just relinquish my separate identity. That's the answer. to the problem of sin and guilt and fear and attack. All of it. Okay, I need to let go of my separate identity. That's because they are my separate identity is behind the whole thing. Okay, so happy with that one. Let's go to number 4.
Okay. The Holy Spirit cannot punish sin.
Read it in the alternative, and we'll translate as we go. Remembrance of perfect love.
Remembrance of perfect love cannot punish sin. Mistakes it recognizes and would correct them all, as pure formless awareness of perfect love entrusted it to do.
So we got cross. Okay.
Okay, but sin it knows not, nor can. Now, who are we talking about? Yeah. Sin it knows
Just
not.
make that. It does not know.
Sin.
Does not know sin.
Nor can it recognize mistakes that cannot be corrected, nor can it recognize mistakes. Right, okay. That cannot be corrected. For a mistake that cannot be corrected is meaningless to perfect love. Mistakes,
You say it.
okay. Mistakes are for correction and they call for nothing else. What calls for punishment must call for nothing. Every mistake must be a call for love. What then is sin? What could it be but a mistake you would keep hidden, a call for help that you would keep unheard and unanswered, and thus unanswered?
Could it be except a mistake?
Yeah.
Would keep hidden. Mistake you want to keep hidden. Call for help that you want to keep unheard and thus unanswered. Okay, let me read that from the top. So we go.
Remembrance of perfect love cannot punish sin. Mistakes it recognizes and would correct them all as pure formless awareness of perfect love entrusted it to do. But it does not know sin, nor can it recognize mistakes that cannot be corrected. For a mistake that cannot be corrected is meaningless to it. Mistakes are for correction, and they call for nothing else. What calls for punishment must call for nothing. Every mistake must be a call for love. What then is sin? What could it be except a mistake you want to keep hidden, a call for help that you want to keep unheard and so unanswered? He's saying that the remembrance of perfect love doesn't recognize sin. It can't punish it sin because it doesn't recognize it. And remembrance can recognize and correct mistakes because that's what pure formless awareness of perfect love entrusted it to do. and that's what that's its purpose, to correct mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. It's only there. The Holy Spirit, remembrance of perfect love, is only necessary because we've forgotten. So it's there to come in and correct the mistakes and change our perception of those.
Yeah.
You accept a mistake you want to keep hidden.
Yeah.
So we don't want to really see what's behind the mistake, because that reveals the entire ego's thought system, and that means that our separate identity's got to go.
So it's got to go. Yeah. Yeah, and what's keeping
Okay, so happy with number 4?
Yes.
What's keeping it is our own desire for it.
Yeah.
If we don't want to correct it by changing our minds, then we are really actually wanting to keep the mistake. We're wanting to keep it because it maintains our separate identity. That's all that's going on. It's just our own identity or pure formless awareness. And we choose sin and guilt, and you go, well, that doesn't make any sense, except that we want our own identity. That's why we keep choosing it. And that identity, that separate identity, we cherish more than pure formless awareness or perfect love. We want to maintain that separate identity at all costs. Doesn't matter how much we suffer, how much pain, how much guilt, how much we'll keep it because we'll tolerate all of that because we want the separate identity more. Crazy, really, but that's the ego. And that's why we've invented a world like this, that's so filled with pain and suffering and madness, that seems to be so deeply entrenched. Because we want it. This is a place where people who don't want the truth, who want to deny the truth of who they are, come to perpetuate their illusions about themselves. As he said in a recent, I think it was a recent section of the text. Okay, so moving swiftly on then to number 5. We don't know. I just put that. Yes, I did something like that. Okay. Okay. In time,
the remembrance of oneness clearly sees
make it oneness if you want.
Remembrance of awareness clearly sees the extension of pure formless awareness.
Extension of, actually, should we make it sees the extension of perfect love, can make mistakes. On this you share its
on this you share its
vision.
Yet you do not share its
Maybe in Maybe in this rather than on this. What do you think? Is that better? In this, you share its vision.
Yeah, you do not share its recognition of the difference between time and eternity.
Yeah.
And when correction is completed, time is eternity. The remembrance of perfect love can teach you how to look on time differently and see beyond it, but not while you believe in sin.
Yeah. See, perceive, and how to look.
Oh, yeah.
Teach you how to look on time differently, how to perceive time, I think. Right, how to perceive time differently and see beyond it. See beyond it, perceive beyond it. How to perceive time differently? Should we keep see there or perceive? To perceives, okay, or should we keep see?
I think see. Okay. In error, yes, for this can be corrected by the mind, but sin is the belief that your perception is unchangeable and that the mind must accept as true what it is told through it. If it does not obey, the mind is judged insane. The only power that could change perception is thus kept impotent, held to the body by the fear of changed perception, which its teacher, who is one with it, would bring. Will bring?
Yeah. Held to the body by the fear of changed perception, which its teacher, who is one with it, would bring if it allowed it. I suppose that's what he's saying. Its teacher would bring if it were allowed so, or wants to bring.
Would bring, wants to bring. It certainly does want to bring.
Okay, what else? Mind, should we change mind to awareness?
Yeah.
Awareness is judged insane. Let's see if that works. So an error, yes, for this can be corrected by
Awareness. True awareness.
Sin is the belief that your perception and that the awareness must accept that your awareness must accept
that your awareness must accept as true what it is told through it. What it
is told through perception. That's what it means. So the it is perception. So maybe mine's better there. What do you think? Your mind. What has he said? The mind must accept as true. Let's personalize and make it your mind. Must accept as true what it is told through perception. It does not obey. It is judged insane. So who judges it? You. Judge your mind. The only power that could change perception is thus kept intimate, held to the body by the fear of change perception, which is its teacher. Held to the body, the only power that could change perception, held to the body by the fear of change perception, which its teacher, she is one with it, wants to bring. Doing the power could change perception. Power of your true awareness. Okay? Just maybe read it from the top. Let's make sure we're happy with it.
In time, the remembrance of perfect love clearly sees the extension of perfect love can make mistakes. Clearly sees that.
Perceives.
Clearly perceives the extension of perfect love can make mistakes.
That, if you want.
Oh, it actually, we can do without that. Yep. Can make mistakes.
No.
In this, you share its vision.
So. Okay.
Yeah. Yet you do not share its recognition of the difference between time and eternity. And when correction is completed, time is eternity. The remembrance of perfect love can teach you how to perceive time differently and see beyond it, but not while you believe in sin. In error, yes, for this can be corrected by true awareness. But sin is the belief that your perception is unchangeable and that your mind must accept as true what it is told through perception. If it does not obey, you judge your mind as insane. The only power that could change perception is thus kept impotent, held to the body by the fear of changed perception which its teacher, who is one with it, wants to bring. All right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So let's see the top again. It's saying that I agree on one level, but I still get confused between time and eternity. He's saying you still don't see that, you still need that corrected, because I believe in time and therefore I believe in separation.
Yep. Any power that could change perception is thus kept impotent.
Yeah.
So the only power is really, what is he referring to? The power of decision.
Or it's only the decision to change my mind.
Yeah, kept impotent. The only power of decision, maybe, to clarify that, only power of decision
That's interesting, is held to the body. So yeah, I keep it impotent by my belief in the body, in finite time.
So held to the body. So if you're looking at the power of decision, look at how we do this with the body. We say, it's not me, it's my body wants this. You know, we talk about instincts. Like, no, like, you know, my body really needs this. People use this language. So the power of decision has been given away to the body, held to the body by the fear of change perception, which its teacher, let's say, which its true teacher, which is thus held to the body by the fear of change perception, which the mind's true teacher, which is one with it, wants to bring. So I think that, read that last sentence. Let's make sure
Yeah. The only power of decision that could change perception is thus kept impotent, held to the body by the fear of changed perception, which the mind's true teacher, which is one with it, wants to bring.
There are too many witches there. Fear of change perception, the mind's true teacher, which is one with it, wants to bring. Well, I think that's clearer than the original. Power of decision. So that's really what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Held the body. So I don't have choices in my mind because my body dictates. So, my body wants this, my body needs this. The body's leading, and the mind seems to be impotent, not able to really change its mind. Because it actually fears to change its perception. Because that's it, it's game over. When you change your perception, then that's the end of the separate self. And you no longer exist as a body in this world, which is pretty threatening for the ego.
Oh, wow.
But liberating for the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I laugh. But that's how it is.
Okay.
Okay, you want to give a little summary of that? What's he saying there?
Where's it gone?
I'm testing you.
Yeah, you are.
Can you do it without the
Can
you do it without the text?
Can I do it without the text? So the last bit is freshest in my mind. Belief in the body holds the true power impotent because I'm allowing body to dictate instead of my true awareness. The first part of the paragraph was about sin.
I'll give you some respite.
That's my birthday.
It's your birthday. I'll give you.
Except you do not share it. Time and eternity. Time and eternity. Because I recognize where I am. I believe in finite time in the body, the decisions of the body. But when we correct completely, time is eternity. Oh my God, there's such a background noise.
Sorry, there was a.
Okay. All right. Is it
a helicopter going over?
Okay. Oh, okay. So I can be taught how to do differently, but while I'm deep in sin, because I'm beyond correction. This bit used to frighten me a bit, actually. When I felt myself drifting away from A Course in Miracles, and that is, oh my God, I'm going deep into the ego mind again, belief in separation. That means I'm beyond
redemption. Can't be saved.
My thinking can't be corrected while I'm in this state. For me, that was scary. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a self-perpetuating prison. It can be, but the deeper you go into it, the darker it becomes.
Yeah.
So, the more you disconnect from spirit, the more you don't do this, the harder it gets to pull yourself out of it.
Yeah,
because that thought system just becomes more deeply entrenched. I remember speaking to a lady last year, and She said, I'm so lost in the ego. She said, because she was a course student. She said, no, there was a time when I was really like practicing and I was in there. And she said, so I've just gone, totally into the ego and I know it. And I just don't know how to get out of it now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck. I said, well, welcome. Come join the program. Anything more from her? So clearly the ego won that battle.
Wow.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
If you don't, you don't do anything, it's going to continue, isn't it? You need an intervention.
Yeah.
If it's that deep and profound, generally you're going to need some help. You're not going to be able to do it on your own.
So I do
Well, your
still
own
feel.
willingness, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still feel that I haven't quite nailed this one.
Mm-hmm. In terms of your understanding of it.
Is the nub of it about time and eternity?
Yeah. Do you understand this number 4? When correction is completed, time is eternity.
Time is eternity. That's right, because that's where I understand that I am pure formless awareness and I am eternal.
No. And so time is given way to eternity.
Yes.
Time as such doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
There's only one pure formlessly aware state. So this is the merging, the collapsing of time into eternity.
And that will be taught to me by pure formless awareness. Remember, it's a perfect love, but not. I won't take it on board while I still believe in sin.
Yeah.
It's unchangeable.
You can't believe in sin.
No.
You can't believe in sin and in the remembrance of perfect love. They contradict each other.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What that?
Yeah.
The sin says I cannot change. This is a fixed problem. I can't change it. I can never get out of it. And so I deny the one power of decision to change my mind.
Yeah.
That could change perception. And I keep that impotent. I hold it to the body. I say, well, I can't change because I'm just a body. I'm not a mind. And I deny myself the correction.
Oh.
Okay, moving swiftly on then. Not so swiftly on. This one's taking a while, isn't it?
How many paragraphs?
Was that number 5? Yeah, it was only number 5. Wow. So what happened to number 6 then? There we go, there's number 6. Okay. This is what you call a deep dive into A Course in Miracles. It's like, however, it's all recorded, so in years to come, there might be people who go, oh, that was actually a really interesting session. 2 people doing a deep dive into this particular section and discussing it in detail. So it's there for forever. People might go, Iona's a rock star. Who knows? This might be viewed by hundreds or thousands of people at some point. You never know.
God, we don't know, do we?
The Spirit has a plan for nothing. No, we don't. So,
okay.
When you're tempted to believe,
when you are tempted to believe that sin is real, remember this: if sin is real, both God and you are not.
Yeah.
Both pure formless awareness and you are not.
Okay. Both.
If creation
and you are not is extension.
Yeah.
So interesting, yeah, because we use that translation, don't we? We use translate extension or creation. He's actually defining it as such here. Creation is extension. So we're on the right track.
Yes.
Creation
So
is extension. So I think we'll leave creation there. Or we could say if, we'll use the other one. If beingness is extension, what do you think?
I was reaching for that. Yeah.
Yeah? Should we translate it as beingness?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The creator or the source of being must have extended
itself.
It is impossible.
And it is impossible that what is part of it is totally unlike the rest. If beingness is extension, the source of being must have extended itself, and it is impossible that what is part of it is totally unlike the rest.
Yeah. So what he's saying is it must all be of the same order. You can't have what is part of it is totally unlike the rest.
Yeah.
You can't have a part of this that's somehow opposite and different.
Yeah. Yes.
So if sin is real, then what you're saying is that God must be at war with himself.
Yeah. Which is nuts.
Yeah. How can pure formless awareness of perfect love, being what it is by definition, how can that be at war with anything?
Mm.
It's not possible. It's whole and complete unto itself.
Mm. Mm.
So again, it's just helping us to break down the ego through the simple logic.
Good. It must be split and torn between good and evil, partly sane and partially insane. For it must have created what wills to destroy it and has the power to do so. Is it not easier to believe that you have been mistaken to believe in this? Yeah. Can you just like saying, can you not just believe that, see that it's just nonsense that you've manufactured in the mind?
Yeah, so interesting because here we come. I mean, this is a paragraph that many religions would do well to read. What we're trying to do is justify the split. If sin is real as well as love, in the mind, this God, as we define it, must be split and torn between good and evil. Partly saying part of it believing in pure formless awareness of perfect love, and we cannot believe in both. So then pure formless awareness of perfect love must have created what wills to destroy it. So it's schizophrenic. If you believe in a schizophrenic God, God is good and evil. And this goes for, there's teachings that say if someone says, well, God is all of it, God is whole, God is the light, God is the dark, from this teachings, there's many versions of it. Really, this is what you're saying. You're saying that God is schizophrenic, that this perfect love is trying to destroy itself. Totally schizophrenic, upside down, backwards. And then you try and make sense of that. And you try and go, well, this is how it is. And this is true and real, rather than this is a complete delusion. And it's simply not true. And, only pure formless awareness of perfect love is true. That's the only resolution. Otherwise, you will forever have the split in the mind, and you will ever have a dualistic concept of God. God is both good and evil. So then you can't say, well, God is love. Say, well, God is evil. God is punishing. God is, has this desire to punish its own creations for the sins that they've done. But hang on, if God is all powerful, how's that possible? God must have set itself up to now punish himself. Did you see the twisted logic? God is all powerful, and God has done this, then and now God's creations are apparently sinning against him. Well, God must have created it to be that way. God's all powerful. Now he's punishing his creations for what he's created them to do. Okay, this is like nuts. What an insane. And then he's saying at the end, it's not easy to believe that you've been mistaken to believe in all of this.
Yeah.
Because you can't really make sense of that.
No, it's a terrible mess.
You just go around and around in that logic. And then the way sort of theologians, people who believe in a dualistic God, get around it is they say, oh, well, there's some things we just can't understand. So just accept it because this is beyond your understanding, and accept that you don't know, and be a good little boy or girl, and just keep believing in this falsity and not questioning it. Whereas just pure logic will take you to the truth. Pure logic says this is nonsense. This doesn't make any sense. So how can I accept it? So what Yeshua did was he just went and he looked at it and he looked at it and he saw the logic, the insane logic of the ego, and he said, I can't accept this. If God is truly a God of love, then this must be false. This must be insane and false and untrue. And I simply need to see it as that and dismiss it as that. It's not true. And believe only in the God of love. This is where sanity and peace and love and joy, everything we truly want, lies. This dualistic conception of God, I mean, he's saying it doesn't make any sense. How can you make sense of this? And religions have been, dualistic religions have been trying to make sense of this dilemma forever, and not one of them has ever succeeded. The dilemma just gets covered over and not really seen for what it is. Because if you really see it clearly in this light, you have to make a choice. You have to then say, well, the only way out of this is to deny all of it and recognize that God did not create any of it, i.e. it's all an illusion, none of it's real, and I can let go of all of it. Which then means it's game over for my ego. So I don't want to do that. So I prefer to maintain all of these illusions and not really explain them. To maintain the illusion of a separate self. Okay, happy with that? Can you give a summary of that?
Well, he's really answering, do you really want to accept this schizophrenic way of seeing your God or pure formless awareness? How could you believe in such a madness?
Yeah, just highlighting, just by showing us the insanity of this, we do start to, if you're open to it, you just say, oh yeah, well it never really made sense to me. Now finally,
yeah,
Yeshua's highlighting it, and I see that and he's saying, is it just not easier to believe that you've been mistaken than to try and justify all these errors and somehow make them true and real? It's not. It's very obvious. The question is almost a rhetorical question. Is it not easier to believe that you've been mistaken and to believe in all these lies? Oh, what Shakespeare's line, oh, what tangled webs we weave when first we practice to deceive, comes to mind. Very tangled, very contorted, twisted, doesn't make any sense. And you're going to struggle to maintain that belief with any kind of logic. So he's saying, just look at it and realize you've been mistaken and let it all go. Be free.
Let it go.
Hallelujah. And yet, People, intelligent people. I had a conversation about a year ago with the chap. It was related to a business idea, a business venture at the time, and we had this conversation, which ended up going into duality, the duality, non-duality, because he'd studied his path, and he was justifying this. He was saying, no, you can have both. You can have pure forms. You can have the absolute oneness, and you can also have illusion, and both of those are real, equally real. And I'm going, no, you can't. No, yes, you can. Intelligent guy, and I'm going, but can't. It's a direct contradiction. You can't have separation and oneness both being true in your mind. They contradict each other. But he didn't want to see it. So this is what people do: is they fudge it, and then they try and make these irreconcilable thought systems work, and they don't work together. So there's always going to be a conflict in their mind. There's always going to be a lack of peace in their mind, because they maintain the split. The split mind is by definition not at peace with itself. Okay, happy to move on.
Yeah.
While you believe that your reality,
While you believe that your reality or your brother's is bounded by a body, you will believe in sin. Are we translating as we go along? So, or your companion
yeah,
is bounded by a body, you will believe in sin. While you believe that bodies can unite, you will find guilt attractive and believe that sin is precious. For the belief that bodies limit mind.
I think bounded, should we change that to limited? Bounded is a bit archaic, isn't it?
Limit
It's
is very
limited by
clear.
yeah.
For the belief that bodies limit mind leads to a perception of the world in which the proof of separation seems to be everywhere, and pure formless awareness and its extensions seem to be split apart and overthrown. For sin would prove what pure formless awareness created hope. Shall I wait?
Yeah, so let me fix that. Creation is extension. Seem to be split apart and overthrown. Okay.
For sin would prove what pure formless awareness of perfect love created holy, made wholly aware.
Sin would prove what pure formless awareness of perfect love created holy could not prevail against it. So extended, created is extended. Holy is so our true extension is just to be in whole awareness, in this pure formless awareness. That's how we are extended, and yet sin would prove that this pure formless awareness and its extension could not prevail against it, or remain itself before the power of sin. Put a capital I there, I think. Okay.
Okay, sin is perceived as mightier than pure formless awareness of perfect love.
For which God himself,
Pure
it
formless awareness.
itself. Yeah, let's just do it again.
And offer its extension or its creation to its conqueror. Is this humility or madness?
So what does he mean here? You want to read the whole thing from the top and unpack
Yeah.
it as you go?
Yeah. While you believe that your reality or your companions is limited by a body, you will believe in sin, because sin is belief in the body, belief in separation. While you believe that bodies can unite, you will find guilt attractive. You will find guilt attractive and believe that sin is precious. So, saying again that that guilt and shame and are hugely attractive while you're in this belief in sin, believing in the bodies. For the belief that bodies limit mind, or the belief that bodies limit mind leads to a perception of the world in which the proof of separation seems to be everywhere.
Maybe
Yeah.
this needs to be limit awareness.
Yeah. For the belief that bodies limit awareness lead to a perception of the world in which the proof of separation seems to be everywhere. Yes, that guilt and shame is everywhere, is rampant, that we are simply here for ourselves. And the world shows up like that. Of course it does. If we believe that for ourselves, everything in the world outside is going to be fuel to the fire of that belief.
Yeah.
And pure formless awareness, perfect love, and its extension seem to be split apart and overthrown. So the one true mind, true thought, seem to be overwhelmed by this belief in separation and everything in the world that's proving, that seems seemingly proof of this separation. Sin would prove what pure formless awareness of perfect love extended as wholly aware could not prevail against it, nor remain itself before the power of sin. So sin is, it's like an all-out assault, isn't it? That pure formless awareness is can't prevail.
Yeah.
Sin is perceived mightier than pure formless awareness of perfect love, and before which pure formless awareness of perfect love itself must bow and offer its extension to its conqueror. Oh, right, like a sort of sacrifice or a captive, to go back to that previous image. Like he talked about captive, didn't he, in a previous paragraph? Is this humility? Yes.
Yeah. What did he say? In your paragraph 3, huh? Something like that. Sin that calls for punishment, not error. The avenger, that one. Vengeance, an avenger. Remember the one about avenging?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just a reference to captive.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but
Okay. So again, he's pointing out to the insanity of this twisted thought system.
yeah.
Humility or madness.
Offer its extension to its conqueror. So it's almost like the extension is now evil and sinful, and this has been offered to sin to demonstrate that sin has conquered love.
Yes.
Is it humility or madness? And so
Yes.
now, demand the sacrifice of the extensions of love on the altar of sin, to seemingly pay penance for the
Yeah.
sin, offer its
Yeah.
extension to its conqueror. Well, that misinterpretation is behind the misinterpretation of the crucifixion. Its extension, so the Son of God had to be crucified as some kind of sacrifice to
Yes.
pay for the sins of humanity. So what you're saying is the idea of sin is now more powerful than everlasting love, and love now demands a sacrifice in order to somehow be appeased.
Yes. That crazy sentence says, God so loved the world, he gave his only son.
Yeah. To be sacrificed.
To be sacrificed. Yeah.
Like, wow. Okay. But you see how the thought system of sin demands that. So if you believe in sin, then you're going to interpret the crucifixion as people did, most people did, including his disciples.
Yeah.
Whereas if you see that this was just a demonstration of the insanity of the thought system of the ego, and Yeshua was showing you that even in that extreme situation, you could forgive and not be caught up in it, not be fooled by it, and then actually it had no power because he resurrects and he shows you that death has no power. It's all a teaching. This was a master teaching, a master designed to teach us the power of forgiveness and the eternal triumph of life over death.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with sin. But if you have these misinterpretations, and you can see why religion has been so distorted, because everything that happens gets filtered through these false beliefs, the lens of these false beliefs, and then it seems to be true. Okay, happy with 7? If you think you've done a summary, I think you did a pretty good summary. Okay with that. So number 8. Okay, so sin is real.
If sin is real, it must forever be beyond healing, for there would be a power beyond pure formless awareness of perfect love.
Let's just do it here. A power beyond God's, beyond perfect loves,
capable of making another will that could attack its will and overcome it, and give its extension a will apart from its own and stronger. And each part of perfect love's fragmented extension, fragmented beingness, would have a different awareness opposed to its and in eternal opposition to it and to each other. Your wholly aware relationship has as its purpose now the goal of proving this is impossible. The state of pure formless awareness has smiled upon it, and the belief in sin has been uprooted in its smile of love. You see it still because you do not realize that its foundation has gone. Its source has been removed, and so it can be cherished but a little while before it vanishes. The habit of looking for it still remains, so it's become a memory. Yeah, okay.
Interesting for you, because you were talking about your smile, that pressure in your.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. Smiled upon it. Belief in sin has been uprooted in its smile of love. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it really aches when I frown in the middle of my head.
I don't frown then.
Yeah, don't frown. It's simple, isn't it?
Yeah, just
Yeah,
smile.
just smile. Okay, so shall I read it from the
Yeah,
top?
read it from
If,
the top.
if sin is real, it must forever be beyond the hope of healing, for there would be a power beyond perfect loves, capable of making another will that could attack its will and overcome it, and give its extension a will apart from it and stronger.
So should we change will to awareness here? What do you think will is?
Making another awareness that could attack its awareness and overcome it.
Well, how about just changing that? Another awareness. Another will. We'll leave that as will. Another will that could attack its awareness and overcome it and give its extension a will apart from its and stronger.
Yeah. And stronger. Yeah. And each
So the
part,
idea of another will, that's an egoic idea. Will. I will, I want it this way.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And each part, well, I'll read that again. For there would be a power beyond perfect loves, capable of making another will that could attack its awareness and overcome it, and give its extension a will apart from its awareness and stronger. And each part of perfect love's fragmented extension would have a different will opposed to its and in eternal opposition to it and to each other. Your wholly aware relationship has as its purpose now the goal of proving this is impossible. The state of pure formless awareness has smiled upon it, and the belief in sin has been uprooted in its smile of love. You see it still because you do not realize that its foundation has gone. That means the foundation of the belief in sin. Yes, that's what he's referring to. Its source has been removed, and so it can be cherished only a little while before, only for a little while before it vanishes. Only the habit of looking for it still remains. So I'm still in the habit of looking for the belief in sin, which has been shone away. But I have this memory, this habit.
Yeah. It's like residual kind of annoying just stuff comes up and you're like, what's that really?
Yeah.
You're aware of it and it's like a mosquito just kind of, but because you're in higher awareness, you can just look at it and dismiss it and go, no, just brush it away. It's not the dark, heavy,
no,
big, huge, imposing thought system it once was.
Yeah.
Only the habit looking for it still remains. So we still have a tendency to want to look for sin and error and make it real in the mind. And whenever that shows up, this is just more correction needs to be done. Okay, well, I still have the habit of looking for this.
Yes.
So let me just recognize that this is what's happening, but I don't really believe it. I think what he's saying here is you don't really believe it anymore.
No. It becomes
Just like kind of residual. Yeah.
a distant echo, like something that doesn't really have the bite that it used to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
It comes in various ways to tempt you, and it's just to recognize those ways. So I'm staying at the moment in a house with some people, and one of them's just been diagnosed with COVID, whatever that means. He's tested positive. So it's interesting because you observe then what the mind does with that, and you go, "Oh, okay," a bit of like, and immediate sort of wanting to protect. And then I go, but do I really believe this? I mean, I don't actually believe in COVID. I don't believe in sickness to start with. I don't believe there is really a virus. So he's got symptoms, but the cause of it is, I don't think it's a virus. I think it's self-created. It's the usually stress. He's got a crazy schedule. He's working. He flips from a day shift 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. to a night shift 5:30 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. twice a week. I mean, that's got to cause absolute havoc with your system. So I think that's more what's going on.
Yeah.
And now it's like system goes, no, it's too much. Overload, too much stress, and then these symptoms get produced. So actually, I think it's got nothing to do. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the virus.
No.
But it's interesting how that residual. Do you know what I mean? It's like a little residual belief in sin comes up, and then you get the chance to look at it and say, no, I'm not gonna.
So it can be checked only for a little while before it vanishes.
Yeah, only the habit of still looking for it. So we still tend to perceive error in a situation rather than looking for the truth.
Yeah, right. But I'm sure it came in pretty damn quick after that.
Yeah, and then you just, you're kind of like looking at it all, and this is what the Holy Spirit does and says, no, but like you don't really believe this. This entire thought system of sin and guilt and attack and bodies and sickness, none of this is really true. You know that. So don't go down that path. Don't, well, most people without mind training, you go, oh my God, freak out, terrible. I need to get out of the house straight away. I'm just like, okay, we'll just look at it and don't react in fear because that's the ego wants you to do.
Yeah.
So it's a good test to go, well, how much do I really believe or not? Because if you truly don't believe in guilt and sin and sickness, it just can't happen. It's not possible because that's not a belief in your mind anymore. So it's getting rid of these residual things. Only the habit of still looking for it remains, clearing out all the cobwebs really. So
yeah.
That's a cleaning up job that might take many years.
True.
So I think in your case, anyone who's seriously studied this course is aware that they don't really believe in this ego's thought system anymore. It's just crazy. You see it enough times. He's showing it to you in its craziness. You don't really believe it consciously anyway. But then these situations present themselves, and you go, oh, okay, but there's still a little bit of an attachment there, a little bit of fear.
Yeah.
That's that's clearing out all the cobwebs.
Yeah.
Letting all that go.
But I still these are reminders that it's a pointer to my progress, because I still remember that incredibly dense, knotted feeling inside where I couldn't even be aware, of my thoughts and feelings. They were also enmeshed and so tangled and tight. But now I have a much better perception.
Cool. Yeah. But it's interesting how we feel that knotting inside of us, and there's no clarity in it. And now suddenly this is like, you open it up, it's like, oh, there's actually clarity and there's light, and it's all perceptual. It's extraordinary. It's all just going on in your own mind.
Yeah.
That's reality. Reality is perceptual. It's not anything out there doing it to you.
No.
Okay. So happy with that? Do you want to give a little summary of number 8? What's he saying there in summary?
Well, it's like he's acknowledging that kind of easing out of this knotted, dense belief in sin, this craziness of fragmentation in the mind, this belief when we're in sin, when we're in the belief in sin. However, he's saying, no, you remember that pure formless awareness has shone away, if you like, with love, the belief in sin, and it's just a memory now. The source has vanished. You can look on it, but then you quickly realize that it's just a memory.
And interesting, he brings in the holy relationship again as well. Holy aware relationship has its purpose now. The goal of proving this is impossible.
Yes, exactly.
So it becomes a learning device to help you to undo sin.
Yeah.
So do not see the sin in your brother, is what he's saying. Because that's the temptation. You see sin in your brother, that keeps the idea of sin alive. Oh, but look, this is what they did. They really are guilty.
Yeah, it's fuel to the fire, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas if this is impossible, then forgiveness is done by default. You simply recognize the impossibility of sin, and therefore you've let it go. So your relationship dedicated to that is one in which ultimately forgiveness isn't even necessary. It's not required because you recognize nothing ever really happened to separate you, and you are one, as you truly are, always have been. Okay, and then there's just some residual stuff to clean up. You may still perceive it, but he's saying, look, its days are numbered. This whole system is going, and you've done enough work now, having got to chapter 19 in the text, to have really undone this belief system. It's just the residual components of it that might show up from time to time. Do you feel that? I mean, you've really done it's like, okay, there's no going back.
No, there's no going back. It's 6 months this month, which is it's
and
great.
Over that 6 months, you feel like a major shift in your understanding has happened.
Oh, major, and the huge kind of ego weather fronts which have come in are like, they're really, really intense. I'm not saying I've seen the last of them, but I can, they've happened in quite quick succession. For a while, it seems to be one a week, and now it's kind of eased off a bit, but I'm vigilant. And I can now hear myself talking to other people about knowing that's when it gets down and dirty. That's when the gloves are off. That's when it's really saying, oh my God, she's really serious about.
Yeah, because 6 months of persistent, you've done hours and hours and hours
Yeah.
that sofa. It's, you're not letting this go. It's not just a whim or a fancy. It's like, okay, you serious about this. So he goes
Yeah.
under some serious threat.
It,
Um,
yeah.
but I think you've probably broken the back of it. Like, you do an intense period like this at any point in your life. I mean, I suppose you can always regress if you just went, okay, I'm not going to do any spiritual practice.
Mm.
But why would you do that? You kind of broken the back of it.
Mm.
Like, okay, we'll just continue. Let's
Yeah.
keep cleaning up. You keep working through this the rest of your life. You're just going to be doing house cleaning. You're going to be cleaning up all the residual beliefs, and it's a point where you can really be in the state he's talking about. Just
Mm.
you're formlessly aware. Life's happening. You're perceiving it correctly. There's no separation coming into your mind. You're in the happy dream, and that peace and love and joy will get radiated out from you, and you'll be used increasingly to
Mm.
help to heal others, as you can see happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
It's happening. It's
Mm.
definitely happening.
Yeah. I actually put in your profile because I changed. I don't know if you saw in that ad. I put you're a healer as well as a visual artist.
Thank you. Yes.
So
Thank you.
I think that's correct. I mean, you can change it if you want, but you're doing healing, so you're a healer.
Mm. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We
Good.
actually, if you're okay, we can maybe have a quick chat after this about some of that stuff.
How? Yeah. Okay. I need a comfort stop.
Okay,
Yes.
now?
That would be good.
Okay, no
Mm-hmm.
problem. Let me get the rest of the setup. We've only got 3 paragraphs to go.
Good oak. Good oak.
That's good. All right.
Yep.
Let's finish this baby.
Yeah.
I've been going since 12:30. In fact, I had a meeting before that. How's that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's a lot of hours.
it's a lot of hours sitting, yeah. Okay, so let's start the recording up again. Let's get chats, ALG members. Okay, all right, so part 2 of this, where are we? Number 9. And yet you look with heaven's smile upon your lips.
A state of pure formless awareness. Smile upon your lips.
Yeah, heaven's smile, it's quite difficult. The smile of...
Smile of perfect love. State of
Yeah,
perfect
something like that. The smile pure formless awareness upon your lips, and
It's blessing on your side. And you will not see sin.
yeah, resting on your perception. How about that? And you will not see.
Yeah.
You will not perceive sin long. For a new perception, the mind corrects it when it seems to be seen, it becomes invisible.
And for a new perception, the mind corrects it when it seems to be seen and it becomes invisible. Yep. Errors are quickly recognized and quickly given to correction to be healed, not hidden. You will be healed of sin and all its ravages the instant you give it no power over your companion. And you will help him, he will help him overcome mistakes by joyously releasing him from the belief in sin. So he's saying that if I believe in sin, I see the sin in my brother, and then I give up with belief in sin, I release myself, I release all my companions. And it reminds me of, what he's talked about, these chains that we keep we keep ourselves and each other in chains, believing in sin.
Yeah. Collective prison. So I'm
Yes.
going to make it your mind. Your mind corrects it when it seems to be seen, and it becomes invisible. So it becomes very personalized. You will quickly recognize errors. Instead of the passive, it's active. You will quickly recognize errors. And correct them to be healed and not hidden. So this is what he's saying. We just come into the state where we quickly, easily are aware of error. Just go, okay, it's no big deal. It's just a mistake. No, to beat myself up over it. Just drop it, let it go, quickly, easily. And this is, this is the mastery of the art of letting go. It's just okay, quickly, easy. It comes in, recognize it. I'm aware of it quickly. I know how to let it go. I let it go, and it has no power. The error just doesn't have any power. It's very temporary. And that's the way you move forward in life. Just stuff comes in. He's not saying it's never going to come in. You're never going to be tempted. You're never going to make an error, but not for long, because your true awareness will come in and help you to correct it. So, I mean, do you feel like over the last 6 months that's what's happened? You've got just a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better at just being aware and letting go quickly, easily.
Because I feel lighter on my feet. Just right, deflect that. It's not real. I don't believe it. Let it go. If I feel triggered, it was like that, getting that happy birthday, Iona. Not a suitable emoji for ego.
So you noticed it, and then you just went, okay, well, I'm not going to dwell on that.
No, really. Let it go. Oh, that was so silly. So, yeah.
Just let it go, but you recognized it quickly, and you didn't let it affect you. So that's really the key.
Yeah.
Healed of sin and all its ravages, the instant that you give it no power over your companion.
Yeah. Yeah. To see my companion as guilty, as insulting me or injuring or damaging me. Wow. Or not holding me as special or loved.
Whatever, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You will help him overcome mistakes by joyously releasing him from the belief in sin.
I don't believe in sin.
So therefore, how can I judge you? How can I condemn you? If I don't believe in sin, condemnation and attack are not possible.
So I understand error, but error is corrected.
Yeah. So it's giving us a little glimpse here of the enlightened state.
Yeah.
We're not fully enlightened because you still have temptations. He's saying your mind corrects it when it seems to be seen. It becomes invisible. So you still have the kind of residual stuff, cropping up. Any error is really a belief in sin. So it's all got separation, it's underpinning. So it crops up, but quite quickly and easily you deal with it. You don't get stuck in the misperception of it for long. I'm just going to put this down because I've got the sun directly coming into the room on my face. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so I want to give a little summary of that?
Well, you will not perceive sin any longer. You have brought it all out to be healed and not hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've taken all the power away from sin. Yeah. And it's a joyful release.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's giving us, steps on the path. He's saying this is what's gonna happen increasingly for you.
Yes.
And in your experience, it does dovetail with this, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Definitely.
More quickly compared with 6 months ago, would you say much more quickly and easily you're able to let go?
And honestly, life is much happier.
You look out. I have to say, you look younger than 6 months ago. You really do.
Yeah.
It's the aging process.
I'm going backwards.
Kind of a lightness and an openness in your face that wasn't there before.
Thank you. Yes.
So you can actually observe it. I mean, it's difficult to remember because I don't have a photo of you then, but there's definitely there was kind of some heaviness in the, and now it's more like, wow, it's really light, open, joyful, You can see it.
Well, do you want to know a funny thing?
Yeah.
I was in Edinburgh last week, as you know, and I was with my kids in a beautiful, wide open part of the city called the Meadows. And we
Yeah.
were actually chilling there, and we had been there for hours, and we'd had a really wonderful time. We were just getting up to go, and this woman came across, and she's a talent scout for Apple.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're running a big ad campaign. Anyway, long story, not very long story, but cut it short. I've been shortlisted as a possible face on an ad
Really?
campaign. And I said,
Really? On an Apple ad?
yeah, I know. And I thought this is just hilarious because of all this, belief in not the body, body, not body.
Yeah.
And then she's seeing a body. And I'm saying, um, can I just have a quick word with my daughter? That's her calling. Would you
Yeah.
give me 1 minute?
No problem. I'll continue with the translation. In the holy actually it's in the now. In the now. Maybe we can change it in the holy away instant. You'll see the smile of heaven shining on both of you. Smile of performance awareness shining on both you and your brother. You will shine upon him in glad acknowledgement of the grace that has been given you. Sin will not prevail against a union. Your formless awareness has smiled upon. Your perception was healed in the holy aware instant. Your formless awareness gave you. Forget what you have seen and raise your eyes in faith to what you now can see. Forget what you have, say, misperceived. What you now can perceive truly. Barriers to state of pure formless awareness will disappear before your holy sight. For you who are sightless have been given vision, and you can see. not for what has been removed, but for the glory that has been restored for you to see. Not look for what has been removed, but for the magnificence being restored for you to see. Look upon your Redeemer and behold what he would show you in your brother. Do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes. Actually, look upon your Redeemer, look upon your Savior Awakener, and hold what would show you in your companion. Do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes. Savior Awakener and Savior Awakener, see what it would show you. Do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes, for sin would keep you separate from him. But your Awakener, and you look upon your brother, look upon your companion as yourself. Relationship is now a temple of healing, a place where all the weary ones can come and rest. Here is the rest that waits for all after the journey. Temple of healing. Testament to healing. Place. After the journey, here is the rest and waits for more. It is brought nearer to all by your relationship. No temple of healings, no a witness to healing. State. The weary ones. The weary ones can come and rest. There is the rest that waits for more. Your relationship brings it nearer to it. Okay, so talking about the holy relationship as example of a healed relationship, free of sin, state where all the weary ones can come and rest after the journey. So it becomes an example of healing. So the key message of this section is that go back to the beginning. Chapter 19, the unreality of sin. Okay. Attraction of guilt. It's found in sin, not error.
Here. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I've done a bit of translation. So number 10, you want to read that?
In the holy instant, you will see the smile of pure formless awareness shining on both you and your brother. Companion?
So remember, just pause there. Remember we translated the holy instant as the now previously.
Yeah.
So this just came to me, the wholly aware instant. Do you think that's better than the now? The wholly aware instant. It kind of has more meat to it, doesn't it? It's kind of saying I'm wholly aware in that instant.
Well, it would be consistent with our replacement of holy with holy.
Wholly aware, yeah. Okay.
Holy.
We'll just have to next year when we get to those sections, we'll have to correct them, change the now to wholly aware. Well, maybe context specific. Maybe sometimes the now works. But in this instance,
Maybe.
it's like wholly aware instant. So in this wholly aware instant, so in the now you're wholly aware, you will
Yeah.
see the smile
Hmm.
of pure form awareness shining on both you and your brother,
Yeah.
companion. So he's relating this again to the special relation, to the holy relationship.
And you will shine upon him in glad acknowledgement of the grace that has been given you.
So maybe we should say bless him instead of shine upon him.
And you will bless him. Yeah.
It's a bit more practical. What does shine upon really mean? It's like, what, so I'm going to be shining my light? Like, how does that actually work?
I think it's Pink Floyd, Shine On You Crazy Diamond.
Shine on you, and you will bless him. That acknowledgement of the grace that has been given you.
That's how I feel, that I have been given grace. And
Yeah, I think we should say both of you, actually. It's been given both of you. I think that's nice.
yeah.
Hmm.
And sin will not prevail against a union pure formless awareness has blessed you with, has smiled upon. No, we've had pure
Well, we
formless
can keep the smile. He's using the smile thing.
shining. Yeah. Your perception. Okay. Your perception was healed in the wholly aware instant pure formless awareness gave you. Forget what you have misperceived and raise your eyes in faith to what you can now perceive truly. The barriers to the state of pure formless awareness will disappear before your wholly aware sight. For you who were sightless have been given vision and you can see. Do not look for what has been removed, but for the magnificence that has been restored for you to see.
Okay. So, thoughts on that?
Well, in the wholly aware instant, which is perfect communication, you will see yourself and your companion as pure formless awareness. And that can only give gladness and grace. Sin cannot prevail. And because my perception has been healed, you can forget about the misperceptions and just see, raise your eyes in faith to what you now perceive truly. Yeah. For you were sightless. I was blind, but now I see. For you were sightless, have been given vision, and you can see. Do not look for what's been removed, because I guess a belief in separation would always have you believe in loss. But that's false, because the magnificence has been restored for you to see. Like it was never gone, but we obliterated it for ourselves. Our magnificence, yeah. Glad acknowledgement of the grace that's been given both of you. Your perception healed, grace be given, grace was given, perception healed. Forget your misperceptions. Don't believe that anything has been removed. You'll be showing your magnificence is being restored.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Happy with that? You want to give it? You kind of went through it. Happy with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So last one.
Perceive your awakener. See what it wants to show you in your companion, and do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes. For sin would keep you separate from him, but your awakener wants you to look upon your companion as yourself. Your relationship is now witness to healing a state where all the weary ones can come and rest. After the journey, here is the final rest that waits for all, and your relationship brings it nearer to all. Yeah.
You want to just read the originals here? See if you think I've done a reasonable job.
A light perceive your awakener, look upon your Redeemer. Behold what he would show you in your brother. And you said, see what it wants to show you in your companion, and do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes. For sin would keep you separate from him, but your Redeemer would have you look upon your brother as yourself. Your relationship is now a temple of healing, a place where all the weary ones can come and rest. Here is the rest that waits for all after the journey, and it is brought nearer to all by your relationship. Very good. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to read this again?
Perceive your awakener and see what it wants to show you in your companion, and do not let sin arise again to blind your eyes. For sin would keep you separate from him, but your awakener wants you to look upon your companion as yourself. Your relationship is now a witness to healing, a state where all the weary ones can come and rest. After the journey, here is the rest that waits for all, and your relationship brings it nearer to all.
Okay, so what's he saying there in summary?
Yeah. Right seeing, right-mindedness. Sin only offers blindness and separate state, but we awaken to our true nature and we look upon our companion as ourselves. And yeah, this is I am now the witness to healing, and others come because I am the witness. Yeah.
In your relationship, it's interesting for you and Kenneth, because your relationship is going to be used to heal and bless others.
No.
Your relationship brings it nearer to all, because you're actually going out actively and trying to help others through this, through your partnership, your union. And so people will see, the relationship will bring this state of rest where they've come into holy relationship with their own people in their lives, nearer to them.
Yeah.
You become an example of a healed, how it can actually work.
I know. And yeah, Lucy was saying that just yesterday or the day before. No.
Did she noticed a shift in your relationship?
Well, she's had sort of 6 months close observation. We welcome her in time and time again, and she welcomes us, and we're very, very close, and she gets to see how this relationship is not exclusive. It's not special. It is a spiritual, what is it? We just know, we feel more and more that we can be that we are living our truths. I think I'm struggling for the words because it's not, we don't want to be like an example. We don't want to, oh, this is where you come to see what it's about. No, we've done everything wrong. We've done so many mistakes, but we are really committed to seeing the working through ego. We're just committed to unwinding the ego together. I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah. And the blessing.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes.
No, that's
on this part, but it's, can you correct your mistakes and bring it to the truth? And you're both willing to do that, then relationship becomes the mechanism of your healing. And if you keep doing that, it becomes an example of what a relationship can be to others. And it's not like, oh, look at us, we're so special. We're the we're the spiritual couple, because that would just be more ego.
That's right.
It's just people will see it. They will just by the way you are with each other and how you interact, they will see it and they will learn.
Yeah.
That's sort of what he's implying here. A state where all the weary ones can come and rest. So you're holding out a state that ultimately everyone wants. I mean, we're all looking for love.
Yes.
We're looking for special love, most people, and that's not really love. It's hatred in disguise.
Yeah, exactly.
So a state where you can actually be genuinely, connected in a loving, warm, supportive relationship with the partner is what everyone's actually wanting. But very few people have.
Yeah, I know. I wonder. I do wonder about this and my loved ones, and how. I hope it's okay for them. Hope it's not as long a journey as it was for me.
Well, it'll be what it'll be. Everyone's got their everyone's got their stuff to go through. So it's not really up to you. You just all you can do is bless them and wish them speedy journey. May it be as quick and painless as possible. But you just can't tell because you don't know what there is for them to unwind and what lessons they need.
No, that's true.
Unwind it. So
yeah.
They came in to get those lessons. Sometimes those lessons seem to be very harsh, especially if you're a mother. You go, oh, my baby's suffering. But,
yeah, certainly do. Certainly, I felt that. Yeah, that was yeah, that was a daughter not feeling so perky today.
So good. Needing a bit of comfort.
Yeah, exactly. The unreality of sin.
What? So I'm just going to copy a couple. So we need to just do our little executive summary.
Yeah, I was looking for the silver. I couldn't find it.
And there's that.
Oh, have you done it?
Attraction of guilt. Okay. No, I'm just beginning.
Okay.
Sin is an idea of evil that cannot be corrected. Idea of evil is fun. Sin is an error. Sin is an error that cannot be corrected. Sin is belief in error that cannot be corrected. For
No, are you?
action of guilt that I am attracted. Let's make it personalized. I'm attracted to guilt. Through sin.
Through belief in sin.
Yeah, through.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Belief in sin.
Is that how about when I believe in sin? I am really being attracted by guilt. Sin is belief in error errors or separation. Belief in an error of separation cannot be corrected and is therefore permanent and justifies punishment.
Mm.
So then we find guilt, sin, really being attracted by guilt. Sin is belief in belief in an error of separation, cannot be corrected and is therefore permanent and justifies punishment. We could make that personalized. When I believe in sin, I believe, let's make it really personal. So I think that's the value of these personalized executive summaries. So that actually is the takeaway, your takeaway from the section.
Yeah.
Okay, what can I download from this and really use? And it's useful. When I believe in sin, when I believe in sin and guilt for sin, I believe in an error. I believe that my errors cannot be corrected. When I believe in sin and guilt for sin, I believe that anyone's errors, actually, I believe that my and other people's errors, my own, other people's errors cannot be corrected and are therefore permanent and justify punishment. Okay, so there we've set the scene. That's what the key message of the section is. And then, what else did he say? Let's go back. So that was paragraph 1. I'm tempted to believe that sin is real. So the Holy Spirit simply sees that it can be corrected. Okay, so there's a correction of error. The remembrance of perfect love. Remembrance of perfect love. Help me perceive misperceptions of sin correctly as errors that can be let go of. And facilitates my healing and the healing of relationships. My healing and the healing of him. I'm in close relationships.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shall I read it through?
Yeah, just one more. I think we need to say something about the holy relationship. This healed aware relationship as an example. Can inspire other people to heal and holy aware relationship becomes an example that can inspire other people to heal themselves and their relationships. And their relationships. Okay. So maybe let's make it personalized. My healed and holy aware relationships become a sign will be a shining example that can inspire other people to heal themselves and their relationships. Okay, and themselves and the relationships, and find the peace. And find the peace, heal themselves and their relationships. Find the peace which they yearn. Experience the peace. He talks about the rest. Here's the rest that waits for all.
Yeah.
All weary ones can come and rest.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you want to read that?
The key message of this section is that when I believe in sin, I am really being attracted to guilt. When I believe in sin and guilt for sin, I believe that my own and other people's errors cannot be corrected and are therefore permanent and justify punishment. My remembrance of perfect love will help me perceive all my misperceptions of sin correctly as errors that can be let go of, which facilitates my healing and the healing of people with whom I am in close relationships. My healed and wholly aware relationships will be a shining example that can inspire other people to heal themselves and their relationships and experience the inner peace for which they yearn.
Yeah.
Good.
Happy with that?
Yeah, it's great.
Kind of got the essence of what's in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. Would you like to do a quick? You missed most of the meditation. Would you like to do a quick med or not?
I'm really going to have to step off the screen for quite soon. So, did you want to have a
Chat.
discussion? Yeah.
Chat, yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just
Thank you.
skip the med then.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good.
Mm.
Marathon. Yeah. I've been going for 6.5 hours.
See.
That's a long time.